BrownsWire.com has 5 reasons to be excited about training camp. First one we're going to hit on, continuity, and I think this is a big one.
Yeah, and that's the biggest storyline because this is the first time that I can remember, obviously, having some good continuity, and at least the first time in Baker Mayfield's career actually having the same coaching staff together and sticking together, from year to year. So I'm genuinely curious to see how this offense is able to evolve because, like we mentioned, this is one of those times where you got the basics out of the way last year. Now you can start to get into the advanced concepts in this playbook. So I'm interested to see how they're able to build upon that success with that continuity with the coaching staff going into year 2.
So the next part of this is Baker Mayfield's development. And again, it kind of plays into the continuity. It's going to be really interesting to see.
Yeah, it's funny how, keeping the same coaching staff and actually having the same playbook works out well in Baker's development. I know it's a shock for people in Cleveland, but yeah, that's going to be the next big step for these guys is going to be seeing how Baker's able to take that to the next level because, like I said, you got the same coaching staff, comparatively, and I know you've mentioned this here in the recent weeks too, but, Lamar Jackson's had the same coaching staff, had the same offensive coordinator. You've had the same thing with Josh Allen and company in Buffalo. Baker Mayfield, this is his first time being able to, build upon his strengths going into year 2 of an offense and of a coaching staff. So I'm interested to see how they're able to, accentuate Baker's strengths and really go from there in year 2 with him underneath this coaching staff and in this system.
So number 3, we've kind of already addressed defensive additions. We talked about that last segment. The next is depth, projecting, and protecting the rookies. And I think that's kind of key. A rookie's going to have to earn their playing time on this roster.
Yeah, and it's funny to kind of go back to the old days of these guys are going to have to play from day one and they're going to have to make an immediate impact. All of a sudden now you have guys like Anthony Schwartz who can actually take their time. And I know it's a novel concept as well, but again, these guys have talent, but it's about developing the nuance of the position. You saw that last year with Donovan Peoples-Jones where, he didn't necessarily make as much of an impact early on in the season, but then once you saw in the Bengals game and then as the season went on against the Titans as well, he's able to, pick his spots and really be able to make an impact in little spurts, but he doesn't have to be a major impact guy from day one. And even a guy like Greg Newsome, like we talked about, he's somebody who most years he would have to be relied upon as that starter. And even that's what we saw from Greedy Williams in 2019, where, he pretty much had to be that outside corner until Terrence Mitchell ended up having to take over for him due to injury as well. But, those expectations for a Greg Newsome who fell to the Browns at 26, those expectations aren't there. He can just sit back and learn. He can be a sponge with these guys. And I think that's going to be a great benefit to a lot of these rookies going into year 1, taking on a lot of those, learning experiences and the nuances of their own position. And they can really develop, take their time. They don't have to be that impact guy from day one.
And the final one, weapons. And you could say that on both sides of the ball. The Browns have a number of guys who figure to be playmakers.
Yeah, and again, it's such a great feeling from where we were in 2017 to where we are here in 2021. Gone are the days of the Dwayne Bowes and company, but now, you mentioned, we've talked about Odell, we've talked about Jarvis, I mentioned Donovan Peoples-Jones and Schwartz. You've got Hollywood Higgins as well, and even Austin Hooper and so many different players on offense, and even Demetric Felton is somebody who can play as a running back or a receiver. There's plenty of options on offense. And like you said, on defense too, different linebackers that can play, Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah, he was somebody who was mentioned as a possible safety. I don't think that's necessarily the best role for him there, but he can at least have the athletic ability to possibly play back a little bit and really adds that added versatility for Joe Woods and company on defense. So I'm really interested to see how they're able to play and how they play off each other. There's a lot of versatility, and I know that's going to be the buzzword from Kevin Stefanski coming this year. But, that's something that I'm certainly looking forward to seeing how they're able to implement and expand both on offense and defense with these guys.